Well, hello there. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to be looking at Mark 4, and we're talking about the 4 different things that happen when the Word of God is spoken to someone and what occurs. So let's have a look at this. This is Mark 4. Of course, we're zeroing in on the parable of the sower, and Jesus is about to teach something that's very meaningful and has a huge impact on who we are as a believer. So have a look at this. Mark 4, verse 1. Again, he began to teach beside the sea, and a very large crowd gathered about him so that he got into a boat and sat in it on the sea. And the whole crowd was beside the sea on the land, and he was teaching them many things in parables. And in his teaching he said to them, "Listen, behold, a sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seed fell along the path, and the birds came and devoured it. Other seed fell on rocky ground where it did not have much soil, and it immediately sprang up, and since it had no depths of soil. And when the sun rose, it was scorched, and since it had no root, it withered away. Other seed fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it and yielded no grain. And other seeds fell on good soil and produced grain, growing up and increasing, yielding 30-fold and 60-fold and 100-fold. And he said, he who has ears to hear, let him hear." You know, we're given a description after this of what this parable means and all the different things that happen where it falls on a place that's really doesn't have much of a foundation. It springs up quickly. It's like people who receive a word from the Word of God and get something really good and get really excited for 5 minutes, and then they never really let it take root. They let other things take root, or other things that have continued to be taking root never ever get uprooted for that new thing to be planted. And then others, the thorns come up and choke it. That's the cares of this life. So it's where you do receive it and you long for it to be planted, and you do let it be planted, but other things that are really, really poisonous are still allowed to continue, such as the cares of this world, which really shows a lack of trust in the word that was given you from the Lord, from his word. And so I want to look at the one scenario. Let's look at this and see to it that we are of these people. So this is the kind who it falls into good soil and it produces grain, and it's 30, 60, 100-fold. And you say, what is it that actually, what would I have to do to have that as my confession, as who I am? Well, you look at verse 9 and it says, and he said, he who has ears to hear, let him hear. He gave the answer right there. These are the people who actually are really listening. You know, when you're talking to people and they're not really listening, listening means you're really joining the dots on what the actions would look like for what's being said. That's especially true of when you're reading the Word of God, listening to the Word of God, praying and hearing from the Lord on his instruction. You know, and so for me, I really want to be someone who's of this scenario that says, I'm going to let the Lord and what he has to say, I'm going to let his word really go into good soil. It's the preparation and positioning of my heart that's going to be that I'm someone who produces this 30 or 60 or 100-fold. And you know why? It's because I've made a decision. I want to have ears to hear. Let he who has ears to hear, let him hear. Let's be one of those kind of people today towards the Lord and his word. Let's be a child of God of that nature today. It's all about how you position your heart. And when you do, he's got so much good stuff to say. The Lord has a lot of good things he wants to plant in you today. Won't you reach out to him and spend some special time with him? And let's deliberately put on spiritual ears to hear. You're going to see a great increase. He's promised it. If you're listening and you really have ears to hear, you're going to see an increase, 30, 60, 100-fold. And that's what we long for, to see fruitfulness in our lives. God has something great for you. Why don't you go spend some time with him right now? God bless you. Bye for now.